Hi, I am working hard to be your favorite Paris, and I'll tell you right now, just to kick it off, we'll go into the question a little bit later. But if money wasn't an issue, what I would leave behind is salaries. I think, how far would I go back in my text messages? Maybe if I text, the frequent your top 30, leaving them enough salary for 5 years. So then if I pass unexpectedly or if I pass at 97, whatever furthers my legacy would include leaving salaries so people could have time because money gives you time. All right, I am here local in Texas, but I service many states. Thank you for watching this video. Today, we're going to talk about life insurance again. Specifically, I created an acronym and we're going to focus on the letter I, which is my favorite. That's include dreams and legacy. So that's the main title of today. If money wasn't an issue, what would you want to leave behind? But first, I want to recap because we went over the Paris acronym over the last videos. Please go back and watch those. A lot of great conversation. And I think every day you could ask yourself the same question and maybe have a different answer, but it's time to reflect and spend time with your own dreams. So, just to make sure, if you are new to my page, I made the Paris acronym, which is my name. Let me pull it up. The Paris acronym here, I use this so that you can spend some time thinking about how much life insurance you need. I think over when I first started going over life insurance with individuals, I would ask them how much life insurance they need, but I'm the expert. So a lot of times that question was met with, I'm not trying to get rich or so then I started thinking like um let me go over how I normally guide, which there's plenty of guides out there about like how you come up with your insurance number, but I really wanted to connect to why how I thought about my own insurance product. So to recap what we went over before, P is protect your income. Now, think about your income as far as living until you're 100 and also after you're gone. This a lot of times plays a part if you are a parent, or definitely if you're a parent. If your income is gone after today, how would your family financially keep going on? You'll see examples like we'll have today where parents pass away maybe from illness and their kids are young, so they want to leave enough income so that they could still financially help throughout their child's entire life, whether they're here or not. But definitely check out that video to explain more about protecting your income, or feel free to drop your questions in this video here. I'm going to be doing more specific videos just about protecting your income, and I would love to include any questions that you have. And say hello to me. Let me know you're here. Sometimes when I have the screen pulled up, I can't see, and I still go back and check a lot of the comments, even if you're watching this when I'm not actually live, because again, I feel like a question like this that's here is something that you can reflect on every day. Back to the recap, sorry. So, P, protect your income. Think about living until you're 100. Um, we'll go into whole versus term insurance. There's a lot of different products we would use to fill these. R is remember final expense. Um, I always say now, if you have no idea or anything about final expense, start with 15,000. I give the same example often. I have a customer whose husband passed away, and when she finished with the newspaper obituary, it was $800. And some folks may say that's crazy, and inflation is real, but you deserve to be memorialized. And I think a lot of times we say we don't want things because we're scared of the price. We're living in scarcity. But really, if we plan for it, you deserve to be memorialized. My customer's husband had been a teacher his entire life, very active in the community. He unfortunately, when he passed away, It was due to complications with dementia, and so his memory and things had changed the last 3 or so years, but she wanted to make sure that his previous students and anybody that he had impacted was able, to know that he had passed and just where he would be, memorialized, and, I think that's really important. But today, let's remove that. Today we are talking about legacy. If money wasn't an issue, what would you want to leave behind? So the list could go on and on. Think about, for me, I am a mom, so I would want to make sure that whether I'm here or not, I have some financial input in my daughter's wedding if she decides to get married. College, she's already been a business owner before, so I feel like that seed will always be um, invested in her. So I will want to make sure that I'm leaving seeds there to, um, her to be able to further that. I also, outside of money too, I think I want to make sure that I leave memories like this or just thoughts that I could think of. I definitely want to make sure that she has resources to be able to have therapy. Like, I want to be able to invest in, like, I could see me having a reoccurring payment going to GoFundMe accounts and like having my daughter or family members or other people be able to help, um, you know, pick or decide how we give out that seed. Or you'll see on my page, there's a lot of different cool um, charities or nonprofit foundations or movements or just thought process change, just investing in things that I am passionate about right now when I'm no longer here is really important to me. And I think we forget that life insurance is um, for final expense, but it's also for while we're living and it's also for our legacy. We really can dream big. And that's what I is all about, dreaming really big. So let me share this story um, that I recently saw. Okay. So Ananda Lewis died from breast cancer at the age of 52 on the same day her son graduated middle school. Ananda estate left him $8 million. So just to start, I haven't done a lot of research on Ananda Lewis and to learn more about her. I plan to do that today. You'll see it in a reel as well. Um, but a couple of different things. One, cancer is 1 in 3 for men and women, and um, the on the good side of things is 1 in 3 will have cancer, but recovery, people are surviving cancer, but the financial impact is insane. But in this situation here, kind of what I wanted to focus on is now her young son is left with this great investment into his future, which you can't put a dollar amount on his mom not being there anymore. But think about, this is one thing I think that is important to think about too. We talk about making sure that we buy life insurance for our final expenses to be handled. But what about being on the side of being a beneficiary? And we'll jump back and forth because I want this conversation to be about um, making sure you include your own dreams and legacy. But think about, this is how we come up with what we want. So this is the end in mind. Um, Ananda Lewis here, she's passed away. So now we're looking at what her dreams were ahead of time, which leaving 8 million, she really was planning for legacy and planning with her son in mind. And now what does that legacy look like? Because that's how we back into how we come up with our insurance number. So sit here and think about now middle school. Well, Janelle is in middle school now. She's going into the seventh grade. She's 12. So seventh grade, she'll be 13. So he's got to be about 14 or so. So you're 14, getting ready to start high school. So if I think of things, think about the things that happen throughout high school. And also, um, if you are, say you're not the child, say you don't have a child and you're thinking about including your dreams and legacy, think about if you are a teacher, just think about your legacy. But we're going to use this example first. If you are a parent, because that's I'm a parent, so I'm thinking about this. In high school, they're going to have dances, they're going to have prom, they're going to have graduation. Janelle is a part of the dance team. She's in theater. So I almost think about first, we've shifted to legacy. Protecting my income isn't a thing anymore. So now, what type of expenses is she going to have? How is she going to change as a person? What do I want her to be able to do? But because I've also taught her, like you're going into high school, so I'm sure she'll start thinking about, um, maybe earning her own income. But this, you see how this can spider into a whole bunch of different ideas, which I love. Literally go over, I'm looking at my whiteboard over there and I write out like, what are things I want to do? Because once I figure out, like, okay, from year to year, from month to month, um, what would her birthdays look like in high school? What was my high school experience like? What do I want her to be able to do? Now let's add in today's prices and go from there. So let me remove this one and bring up the calculator and shoot me a message. I can email this to you if you are interested in doing this on your own. I also would love to book time and we could do this together. So this is the Excel version. You'll see up here, protect income. Let's just go through it really quick. I've got time, so you got time too, right? Okay, so this is how we go. And I really like how you'll see going into including dreams and legacy, you really have to think about the whole picture. So this is where this calculator comes in place. And I think this is something that you don't want to rush through. I send this to you, save it and really think about it, especially if you already have your final expense taken care of. So remember, please, if you are confused about medical bills or what kind of debt and things like that, you're still responsible after you pass away from, check out my previous video. We went into detail on the costs and different things. But so we're going to go here. Remember, we said off top, we want to leave 15K for there. Think about income. I did one example. Um, right now, you continue to see how much it costs to live from state to state in income. It's crazy. So I always think about, remember this is our we're dreaming big. So don't think about, oh, how much is that gonna cost me, Paris, because we're gonna talk about whole and term life insurance on this call, but there are a lot of different products that we would use to fill in these numbers. So focus on the dream, okay? Yeah. So income, I'm thinking about Janelle now a couple years back when I was still in corporate. I think when I left there, I was making a little over 100K. Right now, I'm working to double that. So let's just start with doubling 100K. So we'll start there because we're planning for Janelle. I want to replace, and I want to give her 10 years. 10 years, really. Yeah, because Janelle's 12 right now. So let's just plan based on today. If I was gone 10 years, then she would be 22. So I'm okay with that because we've already started her own whole life insurance policies. And as I'm role modeling this behavior, this is going to be what I leave my dreams and my legacy for her. So this would be, I also, other outside of that, I would work with my attorney and have a living trust so that this, if like the $8 million that Miss Lewis left her son, we wouldn't give that 8 million to my 12-year-old right away. We would make sure that that's dispersed throughout her life. So that's that. We're going to add up our debts and obligations. These are things I definitely would want to, if you owned a home, you would want, if you wanted to keep it in there, think about if you're dissolving or having to sell things, you want to give folks time. If you want to um, pay for future college for your children, godchildren, anything like that, let's just put to do it all together. I'm just going to put 100,000 just for today's example. But you would really spend time again, rewatch my other videos as many times as possible to figure out how we come up with each of these. We've got our final expense because if I didn't make that clear a little bit ago, the first step for you, which I recommend, it's no gray area, make sure you have a whole life insurance policy that is participating, especially if you're eligible. A lot of times you'll see folks tell you to get a term policy and invest the rest. The problem is we don't invest the rest. Also, the problem is a lot of us might be uninsurable, and you need to understand the difference between term and whole, which we'll go into in just a minute. But do that. So, okay, so we've said all of that. We've gotten here, and now we're thinking about our dreams and legacy. So, I show a lot of examples on my page of um, there's one that I'll be making a video soon. There's a teacher that she spends, it said how many hours, but she crochets custom like dolls and gives them to her students at the end of the year. And I immediately thought about how Janelle has been teaching herself how to crochet and just thinking about whenever that teacher retires, look how that could be a crochet class, a skill, like all types of things you could go. But whatever she needs, if I could buy her yarn today, if that was something that I was passionate about, I would want to make sure that that's included in my legacy because I want that to go on long after I'm gone. I think for me, a lot of confidence and therapy and so whatever dreams you think, what you want to continue to pay for, whether you're here or not, you want to put that in this part here. And actually, if you were curious, the $8 million, if we were doing this right now for her son, we would put that 8 million down here and subtract it because that is what they already have. So say your future dreams. I'm going to say mine. My future dreams. We'll do that. Oops, sorry, guys. Ignore why it's not. Hold on. Let me remove this and see why it's not calculating for me. One moment. Let me see here. All right, let me get this filled back up. Okay, sorry about that. Hopefully you were thinking of what your dreams and legacy would include. Okay, so here you can see we have that, and then for my dreams, we'll put that there. And you see it's 2.6, but then we would subtract for, if we were using that example, you will put any work employers insurance that you have here or that 8 million. But for include dreams and legacy, really think about what you want to continue to pay for, whether you're here or not. I keep saying that because that's how you figure it out, but do it in time blocks. So if you're planning to live into the age of 100, think about your life. If you don't have kids, um, think about your parents or the people, whoever will get the call and handle your final expenses. This is who you're drinking for. A lot of us do. We have passion products, a lot of hobbies that we're invested in. If you're a runner, a lot of folks are a part of big run clubs. Would you want that to continue? If you are passionate about health, there's a lot of research and things going on about that. I talk about how I want my family to be able to get tattoos from my favorite tattoo artists when I pass away. So that's something that I will include, or have them on retainer, things like that. So it can go down a lot of different paths. I love this. I love this Excel document. I like emailing it to folks and talking you through it because I feel like it gets you started with questions that you might not have thought about, because life insurance is more than just final expense. There's actually a final expense product that's just for that. So use this as a strategy. It's a long-term strategy. So now let me remove this. And what we want to do is actually, let's start with going over, actually not that one. I'm going to start with this one because I want to end with whole life insurance. So I talk about today, I've mentioned whole life insurance and term life insurance. Again, you see, we came up with the number on the calculator. We would look at the health insurance, your age, your health, the history of your family, and look at different products to fill in those gaps. But what's very important to start off with is making sure that you have something in the event that you pass away unexpectedly. So let's go over whole life insurance and term insurance. Term is just like it sounds. It's coverage for a set number of years, normally in 10, 20, or 30. It's affordable, but it's temper temporary. Sorry. If you most likely will outlive your term insurance. Term is the same type of insurance that you have through your employer. If you separate from your employer for any reason, I forgot that they offer you the Cobra version of group life insurance. I repeat, do not keep it unless you have, like, let's just talk about it. But don't do that because that is term insurance. That insurance only lasts for a certain amount of time. Um, so we're planning to live forever. You don't want to die unexpectedly. So think about this just to make it clear, understand a little bit better with term insurance. This is not the insurance that you see on the commercials that's saying you can take a loan from yourself or you can sell it or it has all these benefits. It's affordable. It's going to cover you if you die unexpectedly, but it's not earning cash value. It's not paying dividends. It's not going to leave a legacy. And the folks that I suggest to buy term is normally if you absolutely are on a very strict, limited income, and we are really just trying to protect your insurability. We're going to buy term and then we're going to slowly convert it over the years. The other time I suggest buying term is if you already have a whole life insurance policy and say you get married. Say you start a new business, say you buy some more, you expand your risk, you want to add some term, kind of like an upgrade. Okay, so let's remove that. And now let's talk about whole life insurance, which is like the cream of the crop. Um, I feel like I can hear my mom always laugh when I say this. You can never really have too many. I mean, really, depending, yeah. There's so many. When I think of if I'm a parent, so I buy whole life insurance for myself. But when I think that I have enough, I just buy more and more on my child. As she gets older and buys her own, then there's plenty of all my friends and my little cousins and all the babies call me Lala. So I can see myself buying whole life policies for nieces and nephews and godchildren because what if I'm not here? I want them to be able to have that policy to for their parents to pay it forward and always know that I love them and love them forever. So whole life insurance is permanent coverage that lasts your entire life, whole life. I told a story before about a client I ran into. I think he was 90, maybe a little younger, but he had cashed in all of his whole life policies. All three of his children were grown. He was able to actually use one of his other whole life insurance policies and completely paid off all of their college. So they all graduated without debt. He sold he cashed in one of his other policies and helped a grandchild do a missions trip. And then I believe his wife passed away, so her final expenses were already taken care of. He's already paid for his. So he cashed in the rest of his whole life insurance policy just to add a higher quality of retirement because he's taking care of everything. He has a retirement income that covers his living, like all of that. He has home health care, all of those. So that's kind of like a end story of how that works. Also, it builds cash value so you can borrow from me. I lost my job at one point, and I was able to take a loan from myself and pay my bills without being like tax free and be able to do that. It guarantees legacy. The premium don't change, doesn't change. The death benefit stays the same. Janelle has one in her name. It really is a lot of things, a lot of different ways that this is a great strategy for the long term. Um, Definitely, I would recommend if you are a millennial like myself, check in with your parents and your grandparents and see what they have going on with their insurance policies. We run into a lot of times where maybe they bought one that they didn't understand. You want to make sure that it still is actually big enough to cover final expense. You see, I just took a screenshot of a story where um, tragically a son, he was older, lost both his parents. Um, and I think it might have been a car accident, but he thought they had two policies, one for 5,000, one for 10,000, but they ended up being worth less than 1,000, and they just it's because of they had bought a universal or whatever they had bought. It had stopped earning enough money to pay the premium, and they hadn't continued to pay it, so there wasn't enough left for a death benefit. So you want to make sure that we understand what we have. Definitely take time to review your policies and know what we have. Okay, so that was a lot of information. Please drop your questions if you have them, even if I'm not still live. I again check these all the time. Let me go back over the PARIS acronym. Protect your income. Think about if your income was gone tomorrow, how you would replace that. And if you are a parent, make sure you're thinking about how many years you want to leave income for your family. Or maybe you're married and you don't have kids. Plan for the future. Add up all your debts. The way I like to say that is if you want it to still exist, whether you're here or not, like homes and college funds and things like that, you want to include that. Remember, final expense. If you don't know if you want to service cremation or anything, just start with 15K there. Obituaries are running $300 to $800. What we talked about today include dreams and legacy. And I hope your mind felt like, Bear said this, I thought of this, I thought of that, because I really want include dreams and legacy for you to get almost lost in your ideas of dreaming big because you can do anything. You come up with the vision, we can make an estimate of the financial cost, and then we go backwards from there. And then S, which we'll be talking about next. I'll be doing my next live about that, and I'll focus on more about how you subtract your savings. That is like if you have a policy through your employer or if you have other savings. So, thank you so much for listening. Let me see this. Here is your homework. Write your legacy list. So think about who you want to be included in your legacy. What are some things that you care about that you want that there? I want you to save this video and tag someone who needs to hear it. Again, please share this every time you see it. If you want help calculating your number or have questions about life insurance, reach out to me. You don't save any money doing it yourself, and I do this every day for free. So give me a call. Thank you for listening. Protecting your family starts with being informed, and I am working hard to be your favorite Paris. Thank you for joining.